Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today's Wednesday. It's the first day of July. Welcome to the program. I think we're going to have fun because the hypocrisy knows no ends. The theater continues. And MAGA just discovered the 14th Amendment, which was approved 1 week ago. It was approved 1 week into the future in 1868, whatever the heck that means. Anyway, it was like June 9th of 1868. So that's exciting. It's nice to catch up. And you guys are probably worried, having heard the program yesterday and finding out the Supreme Court has ruled that birthright citizenship is, in fact, the law of the land. And that's what the 14th Amendment said. And that's what we've been doing since 1868. And the only good news is that we're just going to deport them harder now. And we're also going to make sure that pregnant ladies don't come here and give babies up on American soil. Do you know what's crazy? Diplomats don't get citizenship if their kids are born in the U.S. So diplomats, because they obey the rules, will be subject to the rules. But people who don't obey the rules will be not subject to the rules so they can have U.S. citizens. Again, I think that we're looking way too far downstream. It's not a problem to have birthright citizenship and let people come in here and be born in America, raised in America, and then eventually one day be voters in America, as long as we don't have a social safety network that picks everybody up and we leave charity outside of the business of government, leave it to the private sector. We're not going to do that. And luckily, all the people that were super excited about the things that they were excited about forever, now they've turned on their tails and they've acted like they never said that. So we're going to do a little retrospective on a woman named Coney Barrett. And not because I have any particular issue with Coney Barrett, other than it's shocking to me that a woman who wept for George Floyd and who adopted children from not America would side with the idea that anybody could become an American simply by plopping out here on our soil. That's shocking to me. I can't believe that women act like women. Wait, I can. The conservative position, by the way, is that she should be home raising her babies, for whatever that's worth. But the MAGA position was that Coney Barrett was the answer, and then now she's not, and don't worry about what I previously said. So we're going to have some fun with that. We're also going to talk a little bit about my ex-girlfriend at the FBI and the master of my ex-girlfriend, the director of the FBI. He's doing something you guys are going to be shocked to find out, but he's actually using company resources for personal gain. He would never do that. That's how we got here, by the way. That's how we got Steve Friend on Fridays still, who should be an FBI agent again and is not. So we'll talk about all that stuff. I don't know. We'll get into fun stuff. I got a bunch of clips of enjoyable hypocrisy and amusement. But before we do, this is something I very much enjoy. And I think for maybe the first time starting like this last month or so, the bags from Silent are now available in multicam black, which means I probably have to turn around and buy some multicam black backpacks. All my favorite stuff is in multicam black. Even the holster that Spencer Gottlieb gave me, I ended up buying a multicam black cover for it because I absolutely am a nerd. I just like all my colorways to match. And yeah, that's the official word, colorways. Folks, your phone is a tracking device. You probably heard a little bit about this with the flock cameras, ubiquitous technical surveillance, and all the sort of things that you are putting out in signals that will allow government agencies and big tech and corporate data brokers to track you. Even cyber criminals can get a piece of that digital footprint. They don't have to ask. They just take it. And that is why you can get a Silent bag. I was just getting ready for Las Vegas, which I'm going to go to next week. And we're going to talk at Freedom Fest. And I am planning out what's going to fit into my Silent Faraday backpack. And it's a lot. It turns out the E3 Everyday Faraday backpack is my favorite carry-on. It's my personal item because it rolls really well on my suitcase. Anyway, Silent makes Faraday gear that blocks all the wireless signals. It's a big deal when you're in Vegas. It's a big deal when you're traveling. It's a big deal if you don't want government kind of dropping in on you while you're moving around. Cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, NFC, near-field communication. All these signals are being put out there, but if you don't have them, then they can't track you. There's no remote access. There's not breadcrumbs that'll let people find out where you are. We just talked about geofence warrants yesterday. You can kind of eliminate the threat of geofence warrants if you put your phone in one of those bags or in their carry cases. The everyday concealed carry which will hold a pistol behind it, is kind of a nice option as well. You can go off grid, but you still have capabilities of comms if you happen to need it. This is the same kind of technology that's used by special operations, by counterintelligence agents, by intelligence officers all over the world, blocking signals, avoiding surveillance, securing your comms, whatever you got to do. Protect your family, protect your freedom, protect your digital footprint, maybe protect your sanity by just turning the phone off for a little bit and making sure that it's not going to bug you so you can have dinner with your family and not have work calls coming in or whatever else is going on in your life, or maybe the news updates that are never good. Drop your phone into silent Faraday sleep, get off the grid, get silent, invisible to the outside world. It's slnt.com/KYLE. SLNT, silent.com/Kyle. Use Kyle at checkout, save 15%, and you'll get free shipping on qualified orders. I think that is all the information on there. Again, I'm pretty psyched because the Multicam Black is now available. They announced it, but that is the announcement. Doesn't mean it's always available. And now it looks like it's actually in stock and available. So check them out if you guys were on the fence. Pretty good stuff. We're going to get into today's program. We're going to start right now, and I'm going to dream of multicam backpacks. I actually am dreaming of multicam backpacks. That's not an ad read. That's a real thing. I don't know why I like the overlapping colors that are basically all shades of black and dark green. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. That's a good enough place to start. Let's start with Kash Patel's announcement yesterday that some of you guys probably didn't know. Quote, "I don't care what people think about me, but the results at this FBI under President Trump speak for themselves. DKP, American flag emoji." Yep. Listen, nothing says I don't care what people think about me like telling people in a post that reaches 355,000 people that you don't care about what people think about you. And by the way, he used a Metallica song and remixed, this is his hype people, they remixed a bunch of people that were saying that he was doing a shitty job. And he was like, yeah, these people don't like me. DJT, I mean, DKP, I mean, Cash App, $, huzzah. This freaking clown. So, very fun to know that the man doesn't care what anyone thinks about you. We know that's not true. We've proven that in this program. And I was in a Twitter interview space thing last night on X. I had a request to come in and do like an actual formalized interview and took some questions from the crowd. And I don't know how many people listen, but it's available. It's in my timeline if you guys are so inclined. It's really kind of a good retrospective on some of the things I saw, you know, what's good about the FBI, why has it been a problem for a long time, real FBI centric. And one of the things that I remember, they were asking me about the Charlie Kirk case, of which I have not a ton of exciting information other than we still have not had the preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson, who's accused of killing Charlie Kirk. That hasn't even happened yet. So we brought this up a long time ago. I've continued to kind of sit out of it. It's like a niche industry to talk about the quote unquote Charlie Kirk assassination investigation. These are people that have no access to the evidence, that have no access to the cameras. They have no access to the interviews that were done with witnesses other than the ones they can find. They're just winging it off like random cell phone videos and do internet research. And they're coming up with wild conclusions. But we don't even know if there's probable cause to believe that Tyler Robinson is the guy that did it. We know that the state has said it. We know that there is a filing of an information that has kept him behind bars since that happened, since they picked him up. But we haven't even seen an evaluation in a court in this sort of mini trial that happens in a preliminary hearing. That hasn't even happened yet. And that's going to happen next week. So expect an entire week-long preliminary hearing to decide whether or not they even arrested the right guy, and the defense is going to be making the case. And it's taken up until this point to get to that point so that they can even make the arguments. In other words, there's so much information, this is what the defense says, that they have been voluntarily kicking this thing back to prepare their defense. I just want people to be aware of that. As you watch all these folks that are out there and they're investigating and they're knowing all the truth and they're coming up with all these new theories, they literally have not even been able to see what the government's case looks like yet. The government hasn't even presented it. And the FBI is nominally interested in it and has a part to play, but they're not the ones that are the investigative agency of record. So all of that is a light way of saying the reason why Kash Patel was forced into this misstep, starting with the Charlie Kirk assassination and the investigation therein, The craziest little bit about that is people will remember he announced that they had someone in custody and they didn't. So he was wrong. Patel got himself all sideways because of something that happened coming up on a year ago. It's like just shy of a year now. That this program and the Twitter account that I manage, it's not really me. It's just like the mean-spirited version of me that's on the internet. That little blip was something that forced him into some of the stupidity and the bad PR moves that he took. And those things should not have gone away. And I hope that they come back up, which is to say that we were focusing in on his private jet use. We were focusing in on the fact that he was sort of enriching himself and or using government resources for personal gain. And that's not an obsession to say that there is a high-level government official who essentially campaigned for the role of FBI director by saying that the previous FBI director was abusing our resources and then turned around and acted just like him. And for us to recognize that, I don't think is out of bounds. So here's the timeline. The beginning of September of 25, last year, this is before Charlie Kirk was killed, I pointed out that the pilot who was flying the FBI's private jet that takes the director around, the one that we weren't supposed to be paying attention to, but we were, that pilot, a guy named Chris Myers, was on CR-15, which was involved in the Mar-a-Lago investigation. He may or may not have been a case agent. There's some conflicting reporting about that I've gotten. I've heard it from both sides from the FBI. I think he claimed that he wasn't, but was involved in Arctic Frost, which was the same squad that was doing all these sort of political hit jobs out of the Washington field office. So I pointed out that the guy that was flying the plane was clearly one of the people that Kash Patel was claiming that he was going to target, and was then only a few feet away from him while he's partying it up and taking, allegedly box of boozes and stuff like that on the plane. And there's plenty of people saying that that was the case, that he would move with boxes of whiskey and so on and so forth. And there's open source reporting about this from The Atlantic that Kash Patel is now suing over. So all of that is kind of out there. As I pointed out that this guy was flying the plane, he ended up taking some actions, and he went to the person who was in charge of the aviation division, which ended up being a guy named Brian Driscoll. Brian Driscoll, you guys will remember, was the former acting director. He was the former #1 at the FBI before Kash Patel showed up. And he's kind of legendary inside the FBI, and he worked at the hostage rescue team, and he was a tier 1 tactical guy. And then apparently was also a really good case agent and a team player and so on and so forth, and moved his way up the ranks. And he's come out and he's been sort of adopted by people on the political left. I don't know how political the Driz is, but I don't actually disagree with some of the decisions he made. In fact, I think that standing up for your people is the right move. So congratulations to him on that. He lost his job over it. And what he hasn't recognized is that the same mechanism and machine that Kash Patel is using against guys like him is the same one that they used against guys like me and people who are far lower in the ranks. That being said, the Driz defended the right of the pilot to be on a K squad and wouldn't fire him, as I understand it. And then there was another push to get rid of another guy named Walter Gardina, and he was at the Washington field office. And a guy named Steven Jensen, who I'd been highlighting for a while as one of the architects of how the FBI responded to January 6th, as he was the section chief over at the counterterrorism division. All of these things came together, okay? And they made this perfect storm. So Patel gets outed as not knowing who the people are in his orbit. He says, fire those people. His top guys who he's been defending push back and say, I'm not going to fire those people. So he fires them. Then he ends up firing a guy named Spencer Evans, who I pointed out to him a long time ago that they fired, then they unfired, then they were going to fire again, and they weren't really sure what they were going to do. They moved him into administrative state, and I kept nailing home the name of Spencer Evans. So they ended up firing him as well for COVID policy enforcement, which is exactly what I'm suing the Bureau for. And all this is to say, this all happens just before Charlie Kirk was killed. And I was remembering it all last night, and it's like, oh yeah, it's worth remembering this stuff because I'm going to show you something else in just a second. So as this is all going down, the White House, I guess, sent him overseas because he was looking like a buffoon. He had this fallout of like 2 senior FBI agents and 3 senior managers being terminated. They sent him off to Scotland. And they're like, all right, you have to get out of here for a little while. And when you do, they announced, DOJ did, with in concurrence with Kash Patel, we have now hired back the FBI whistleblowers who were wronged under Joe Biden. Like, we got to do something that sets us apart. We got to get some positive motion here. So they named that they were going to bring back 10 whistleblowers. Obviously, I wasn't involved in that. This is all people that were part of the, what are they called? The Empower Oversight Crew. So this is like a sycophantic kind of fake charity group that represents whistleblowers, but really just represents Chuck Grassley's interests. And it's interesting to me because the Empower Oversight guys are going to be linked to Chuck Grassley, which means we're talking about people like Will Chamberlain and Mike Davis, who shows up over on Bannon Show all the time. It's like this little conglomerate of people that sort of just like navel gaze, and they celebrate each other for being alive and their great works, which all sort of come from Chuck Grassley's influence, who is 10,000 years old. So all this goes on. They praise Chuck Grassley. Chuck Grassley helped get all these guys their job back, blah, 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 right? So this all happens. Then I announced that these guys are not being brought back, which they weren't, and it took them over 100 days to get them back in, and they didn't get their back pay, and a bunch of other stuff was all jacked up. And as this is all happening, Charlie Kirk is shot. And all of that background is relevant because when that happened, Patel was already under immense pressure. He looked like a complete fool, and we were pointing out over and over again that he'd been using the private jet to go to State College and check in on his girl, who is his friend, and watch her sing at a wrestling event where she just does the national anthem professionally, apparently, and walks around the fan zone as this little 5-foot-tall Armenian chick giving like people interviews or whatever. And so they do these little hype videos. And then he apparently flew down to Texas and he went to Boondoggle Ranch. Wish you were here, remember? So he went hunting down in Texas, which sounds like a lot of fun, but it's not the guy that he claimed he was. This is the same guy that said we should ground the Chris Ray jet. And he went on talking to all the right-wing talking faces, whether it was a Benny Johnson or whether he was talking to Glenn Beck or so on and so forth. You know, he just went around the horn. He was on Bannon a million times talking about we should ground the FBI director's jet and this guy shouldn't live like a celebrity. And then he turns around, he's living like a celebrity. So all that's happening. Charlie Kirk is killed. The pressure is immensely on him to have a kick-ass presentation and showing for the FBI. Someone important got killed. We're going to respond to it, even though it's not a federal case. And we're going to do an awesome job, and we're going to catch the guy really fast, to the point where he actually announces we have the shooter in custody, and they didn't. Okay? And then he was like, oh, crap. Then he had a rage screaming fit, and they're crying about who's going to tweet and who's going to post what. This is all theatrical performance. I had people that were on the call that were out of the Salt Lake office that were talking about the fact that Daniel Bongino and Kash Patel are essentially like scream crying in front of literally 200 plus people that worked for them about who was going to tweet what and why people didn't give him a picture and why he couldn't do all this stuff. And they just were absolute buffoons. Lost a ton of support of people in that area. All right. So this goes on and on and on. The Charlie Kirk piece and the actual investigation therein, I'm still waiting for the preliminary hearing because I want to know what the government presents that they have. We very well may see surveillance video that's better than what we saw when I was talking to Alex Jones a year ago. We may actually see some things that are convincing. So that doesn't mean that there weren't other people involved. And we talked about the backstory and who was involved in the Discord channel and whether or not they were foreign actors and how that got abandoned by Kash Patel. And this was the initial rift between Joe Kent and Kash Patel, at least the rift that was publicly pointed out. And then we got him out there telling people that he was going to see Charlie Kirk in Valhalla, even though Charlie Kirk was apparently a devout Christian and not a Norse practitioner of some sort of Norse, whatever, paganism. All right. All that is to say, that same buffoonery continues to run the FBI. Is that like a really long-winded way of saying it? And this same sort of self-hyping bullshit, I don't care what people think about me, the results under this FBI speak for themselves. We had Bannon clips yesterday pointing out that nobody believes these stats because you're not arresting people. You've arrested John Bolton and you have this weak ass case against Jim Comey. And that's it. That's the deep state gangsters that you've been able to kind of come up with. How sad. Weirdly enough, I was running through our YouTube channel yesterday, and one of the things that I found was that we are blocked on one episode talking about John Bolton, and we're only blocked in Russia for copyright infringement. I have absolutely no idea what the copyright infringement is. I'm not even going to go try to unblock it because I don't know how many people watch us from Russia. But apparently, there's YouTube in Russia. I guess that's sort of interesting. There is an episode we did that was about John Bolton, or at least that was the title, and it's blocked for copyright material specifically in the Russian territories that YouTube services. Very weird. Okay, can I get to where I was going with this? Sure. Let's do this. The same guy that did all that nonsense and was involved in flying around and was essentially accused of not understanding how the FBI works and using the FBI for his own sort of personal Make-A-Wish Foundation experience. As I've told you, the people that I heard in headquarters were starting to call him the Make-A-Wish director right away. And that involves him wearing a little badge, and that involves him being completely full of shit and saying, hey, we're going to, shut down the Hoover building. They're still in it. We're going to do the museum to the deep state. I actually invited Jesse Kelly to meet me there at the museum to the deep state. Maybe we could go do that. It's 935 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C. That's the front door of still the Hoover building, which is still the Hoover building. Maybe we could go through the FBI experience together and hear what kind of nonsense they're slinging. I just reported this morning, and I got confirmation of it over the night. The FBI director is going to be visiting the Chicago field office to meet with quote-unquote executive management. That's going to be the ASACs, the GS-15s, the top of the federal pay scale, and then probably the special agent in charge. That's the executive management suite. The supervisors, that's your GS-14s just below. Senior 13 agents, so that's going to be like guys who did my job but were stepped out and were there for 15 or 20 years. And then going to meet with specialty teams like maybe SWAT, the ERT people on July the 10th of 2026. Well, that's not particularly interesting to go to the Chicago field office to go meet with people who are your employees. Coincidentally enough, though, the girl who is his friend will be singing in a non-headlining role, didn't even make it on the flyer, at the Windy City Smokeout. And I think that's worth knowing. The Windy City Smokeout, which is going to feature some acts like Hootie and the Blowfish. It's going to feature other people, Lainey something or other, Blake Sheldon maybe. I'm trying to see what it is. It's kind of small. You guys can go to my X feed and find it. She's going to be singing on the 11th, as far as I can tell. And he's going to be visiting Chicago on the 10th for very important business stuff. So this stuff continues. The use of the FBI private jet, the booking of fake things like, I've got to go to the Olympics so I can check in on how our security is doing for the American team. By the way, blah, 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 I'm going to be drinking beer in the locker room and cheering on gold medals. This thing is this guy's MO. How freaking embarrassing is this? Honestly, like, it's an open question. Other than you didn't make it on the poster and Hootie and the Blowfish is playing, which I think Hootie and the Blowfish is great. You guys in the chat are bringing it up too. I had somebody that has worked with a lot of musicians is like, yeah, but whatever, John Proper, like, he's a jerk. And I was like, I don't care, man. That dude wails. So that's pretty cool. So imagine the, I would say the disappointment you feel. You go from singing for the President of the United States of America to not making it on the poster for the Windy City Smokeout, July 8th to the July 12th, featuring the Treaty Oak Revival, Braxton Keith, Sterling Elza. Some of these people I don't know. I'm too old, I guess. I don't keep track of music that much anymore. I do know Hootie and the Blowfish is going to be there on Thursday. That's pretty fun. So you go from singing for the President of the United States of America to open up the celebration of the American 250th. To being not on the poster for whatever's going on there. And luckily, the boy who is your friend is going to fly a $60 million FBI private jet to come and watch. I mean, he's really going there because he has to meet with executive management, and he really has to go there because he wants to go and talk to the SWAT team, which he's already got a patch for because we've got pictures of him wearing FBI Chicago SWAT patches. It just so happens. It's just, I mean, don't you guys love it? I love it when my schedule aligns with the girl who is my friend's schedule that I live with and have babies with, that I call my wife. You know, my partner in life, but not my life partner. Am I being a jerk? It's possible. I'm sort of okay with that. So we're going to lean into the jerk thing just for a minute longer, just because I think it's funny. Some of you guys may have seen this. When you're worried about rug pulls, and rug pulls are essentially that you're being sold something, you buy into that thing, and then the money that you bought in with disappears, and you're left holding the nothing, the empty bag. And that can happen with stock scams. It can happen with crypto. It can happen when you put all your support behind a politician and you sort of think that that politician represents your conservative values. Here's the very conservative First Lady of the United States from her official account, First Lady Melania Trump. As many of you may know, I fully support the LGBTQIA+ community. I almost added letters, but she got enough of them in there. but we must also ensure that our female athletes are protected and respected. And we have no more lemon pledge. I know can read these words. That's Melania Trump from her #1 bestseller, Melania, page 156. And she's weighing in on the transgender case that came down from the Supreme Court yesterday. They've legally confirmed that under Title IX, the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, schools maintain girls and women's sports for biological females. The answer is yes. The states now have the ability to actually do this thing, and we can reaffirm that biological sex is a real thing. Melania Trump says, as she puts one leg on both sides of the fence, America, we can support the rights of the LGBTQIA plus community, whatever the hell that thing is, but we also can protect the opportunities for female athletes, respect everyone, be best, keep girls' sports fair. Very, very good advice from this woman who definitely didn't marry a fat old guy for money. That's not what she would do. And I think we actually have the press conference where she was announcing that. You guys may have seen this before, but this is a little clip from her.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Superman is not home. He is not home. And we need more lemon pledge. No. No, we are not the friends of Mr. Epstein. It's a mean thing for you to say. Because Mr. Superman is not home. We need more lemon pledge. Please. Please, you leave now.
Credit to Atomic Dog for clipping my show and giving it back to me. And so now I give it back to you. And I say thank you. Atomic Dog is in the chat claiming my video. Yeah. Well clipped. Anyway. So, should we talk about rug pulls since we're talking about rug pulls? It does feel a bit like a rug pull if you thought you were getting one thing and you didn't. Some of us knew that Donald Trump was a 90s Democrat from the beginning, so we didn't have to pretend like he was conservative or some other sort of nonsense. BBC is reporting that Donald Trump made more than $1 billion from crypto in his first year back in office. What was that again? 1 billion with a B. That is 1,000 millions. My wife and I had this weird moment yesterday where we were talking about money, and I apparently used the wrong word. I said Donald Trump is now worth something like $6.5 billion, but I said trillion. And I don't know why I said that. And then she was like, wait, how much is Elon Musk worth? And I was like, Elon Musk is worth 1,000 billions. And she's like, what? Anyway, it ended up being my own fault that I said the wrong thing and I confused her. But yeah, he made 1,000 millions from crypto in his first year. U.S. President Donald Trump, reported by the BBC, made more than $1 billion last year from business dealings in cryptocurrency, according to his mandatory financial report for the year 2025. In a 927-page disclosure, he reported $635 million in royalties from an entity called Celebration Coins, thought to be behind the $Trump meme coin, which has plunged in value since he launched it days after taking office, also known as the Rugpull. He was reported over $500 million in income from the World Liberty Financial, a cryptocurrency firm that founded by his own sons and the children of his own special envoy, Steve Witkoff. Guys, this is making the Biden administration look like a freaking amateur hour joke. I'm not even trying to be funny about that. It is shockingly, incredibly bad when you start looking at the numbers on this. So I'm going to turn it over to people who are nerdy and they sound like they look at numbers all day long and probably don't go to the gym. More on the gym in a second because I had a frustration yesterday about that. Let's just go to a little discussion about cryptocurrency and where the money comes from.
2 years into term two, look what happens. His net worth goes from $2.3 billion to $6.5 billion. All of this is crypto in one form or another. He has become the crypto king, even though during Trump 1.0, he was against crypto. He thought crypto was kind of a scam, which it kind of is, as we know. So where did the money come from? He had $4 billion, he and his family, of profits. $3 billion of it came from crypto. And I will tell you, there are so many transactions here, so many structures. It made my head hurt even trying to understand it. But just to give you an example, he took Trump Media, which is the company he started to create Truth Social, and it raised a bunch of money from investors, and he went out and bought a whole bunch of crypto with that. He sold meme coins. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, but remember the dollar Trump, dollar Melania coins, all that contributed profit. So crypto all the way. Made some money from finance. This is Jared raising all of his money from the Middle East and the profits that are anticipated from it. And then there were also some benefits he got. For example, he raised the admission fee at Mar-a-Lago from $100,000 to $1 million. The money he took from the law firms and the other companies as part of his lawsuit campaign, the Qatari jet. But crypto is really what dominates the $3 billion that he added to his net worth.
So let's talk about that meme coin, because so much of this money is coming from crypto. You're calling it here a ripoff. Can you explain exactly what the meme coin is and why you say it's a ripoff?
Well, explaining exactly would probably take me most of the remaining 4 hours that you have this morning, but because it's really complicated. But generally speaking, what he did was he created something called the dollar Trump coin, and you'll also remember there was a dollar Melania coin a little bit later. It is a coin that means nothing. It is like buying a pet rock, except you don't even get a rock. It has no value. It has no trading value. It's not used in commerce, nothing. They sold them initially at $7. It went all the way up to $45. Not surprisingly, it crashed. So there have been found to be 45 what are called whale wallets, huge buyers of this stuff early on in the process. Then as crypto went up, these whales, and it could include Trump, but we don't even know who it includes. It could include a lot of foreigners, people who are tipped off. They made $1.2 billion. Trump, we know, made about $600 million in trading fees and so forth on this. But who lost? Who lost were 2 million innocent Americans who bought this thing because they thought Trump was great or whatever. They lost $4.3 billion by buying up here and now owning something that is worth less than $3.
So hopefully that kind of makes sense to you guys. If you're not familiar with the old pump and dump, the rug pull strategy, it's a common thing. It can be done in companies that are worthless. It's basically fake valuation. And essentially what you're doing is you're saying, I have this thing and I believe that it's valuable. And based on the cult of personality or the force of my sale or the fact that you just think that Seraphin is a brilliant guy, the thing that I'm selling you, which I maybe hold 25% of, I'm going to make it available to you. You can buy the other 75% of this thing, which basically is worthless other than I said it's worth something. So you dump your real money in and you buy up shares, of which now I have a percentage. And as that goes up and up in demand and in value, eventually my 25% is worth whatever I'm interested in. The cash that was dumped in is obviously pooled around between all the others. And then as the valuation gets higher, I can pull it because I have the initial ground level buy-in of zero. I can pull cash out of it and it ends up crashing the value of what you guys dumped in. Now, some of these can be done in the form of bribes and money laundering. So this is a way that you could maybe move money to somebody in a legal way. It's a speculative thing. And you're like, well, I speculated with my 40 million, but I got nothing. Oh, nuts. Good thing I got a pardon, or I got the SEC to drop an investigation. And there were some allegations about this stuff going on earlier on, that the crypto was actually a vehicle for moving money into the Trump administration's hands or Trump family members' hands. And so that people got these preferred outcomes, even though they just lost something. It was like a known loss. This was a contribution and they were doing it in a very specific way. That's one possibility. And the other possibility is as this guy said, 2 million innocent Americans, a bunch of people who said, Donald Trump wouldn't lead me wrong. He's my guy. Like, Cheeto dust all over my face. And then they end up with like a coin that's worth nothing. Somebody pointed out this morning, that if you put $1 million into the Melania coin, so there was a Trump coin, there was a Melania coin, there was some other members of the family coin. If you put $1 million into the Melania coin when it first came out, today your $1 million would be worth $8,000. Not 80, not 800, $8,000. So the drop off was quite steep.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Superman is not home.
He's not home. All right. If you're watching on Rumble, give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing. Subscribe to the channels where you can. You may hear an ad on the audio platforms. I'll insert them right here. And I'm doing my best to put them into YouTube. YouTube is actually kind of a frustrating little platform to be able to add ads into. They make me wait until they've rendered the video at some level that they like, and then when I come back to it, it's like, yeah, we just inserted like a shitload of ads for you, and I don't want that. So anyway, I'm trying to get those down. If you get a bunch of ads, it is my endeavor to reduce them, but there's not like an average time that they're actually putting them in. So I don't know. Like I waited an hour yesterday and they hadn't put them in, and I came back 2 hours later and then they stuffed a bunch in there. So we'll try to get them done as best we can. Doing my best for you on this. We'll continue talking a little bit about this crypto thing. Again, the $1 billion in crypto ventures also being reported by CBS News. So foreign and domestic news there. Donald Trump earned more than $1 billion in crypto-related things, according to financial disclosures. This is being widely reported, talking about the dollar Trump coin crypto meme ticket that he launched 3 days before taking office, and then apparently pulled a ton of money out. There were a lot of people that were MAGA influencers that got paid off in this, as far as we could tell. There were people that have all deleted all these tweets, by the way. They were talking about how awesome Donald Trump is. There was guys like Ryan Fournier that was Students for Trump. He recently had a run-in where maybe he was involved in some sort of like domestic violence situation or something like that, or a stalking charge. Anyway, a lot of these sort of influencer types in the MAGA movement pulled millions out of this stuff. And so everything I can see is that, and this is a tragically bad moment. There's a real strong argument to be made that this administration is more corrupt than anything we've ever seen, or at least it's more obviously corrupt than anything that we've seen in any other administration. It's making the Biden quote unquote crime syndicate look like a couple of crackheads arguing over dimes. It's absurd. The volume and the money. Consider that all of the illicit trading and the insider stuff that goes on in Congress, like it pales in comparison to what this guy pulled off in a year from everything it looked like. Meanwhile, you're stricken.
You're stricken. Poverty stricken.
Relative to Donald Trump, I think everybody listening to the show is most likely also stricken. So anyway, keep your bing bongs in. We're going to continue on, and we'll talk about a couple of other things here. One last little bit here. This is the other piece of it. Liquid assets. This was being reported by Forbes. So this is where I wonder if these estimates are a little bit conservative. Trump's crypto and liquid assets total $2.4 billion. That's the claim. This is coming from Forbes in September of last year, right about the time that we were talking about the Kash Patel nonsense. So maybe Donald Trump was thrilled to have Patel pointing out that he's a grifter flying around in a private jet that the American taxpayers funding, because they weren't looking into the fact that he had doubled his net worth in a bunch of rug pull scams and pump and dumps, from what it looks like here. President's flush with cash, collected hundreds of millions from cryptocurrency sales. Those earnings are added to a stockpile that he'd already been accumulating by selling off his Washington, D.C. hotel and financing San Francisco office complex. There's meme coin tickets here. Net value $709 million. Liquid assets $1.1 billion. World Liberty financial tokens $338 million. Apparently it's gone up since September. Stuff is crazy. Their stable coin, $235 million. These are numbers that regular people just can't fathom. So, in any case, this is the reason why I don't do crypto, for whatever it's worth. I know plenty of people make money in it. I know people get involved in it. They think it's the way to go. If you talk to my buddy Ryan Matta, this is like his favorite thing. Unless Ryan Matta is like a secret multimillionaire, and I'm not aware of it, I just don't like the idea of sitting down at a casino where the rules are not fixed and rigid. They're not readily apparent to me. And the players that are working on behalf of the house are also not being disclosed. And that's, to me, I mean, that's kind of what the stock market looks like. This is why index funds make sense to me, but individual account stuff, like unless you got just a ton of knowledge and experience in this, and maybe you've got some like right on the edge and fast trading networks and stuff, it doesn't make any bit of sense. But crypto, and this guy was just saying it in that little clip, it kind of feels like a scam because there's an awful lot of people that are doing scams. They're talking about how something is amazing and the technology is cutting edge, and this is going to be something that revolutionizes the way that we do the blockchain. And then it's like, now you have $0. It reminds me of that little clip we played from South Park a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, oh, I've got $100. I'm going to put it in the bank. And the guy's like, it didn't go well for you. You have no dollars. I just put in $100 12 seconds ago. It's like, it's gone. You have no dollars. What I wonder is how many people are flat broke because they bought in on this stuff. And maybe they bought in big because they didn't have money to buy in. And knowing how people spend money on lotteries and a bunch of other dumb stuff, there is an argument that it's not just the 14th Amendment issue and whether or not people are birthright citizens, whether you could just plop out a baby here and they can eventually become a voting member of the American public. There's a pretty big argument to be made that we have way too many people that can vote, and they make awful decisions on their own. They don't require like an election to come up. You just go like, hey, here's some money. And they're like, oh, you know what I would like to do? Put a spoiler on my Honda Civic. It's like, you're retarded. You probably shouldn't be a voter. I can look at the way people drive and tell you, I just don't want that person making any decisions for me. And yet their vote, if you believe in these sort of things, counts as much as mine. How many of you have walked around, seen your neighbors, heard your neighbors talking about a financial situation or a decision they made, and you're like, ooh, whoa, yikes. That person has the exact same say as I do. How did we get here? How are we in a world where these people's opinions are equally valuable to my opinion when it comes to the national decision process? It freaks me out. It is the way it works. I'm going to play you somebody who's going to point out that the other problem is some of these people are just liars. They're sneaking around and they're saying something and it sounds totally credible and you want to believe them because you're not a person who runs around and operates in dishonest places. If you're a fundamentally honest person, you're going to find yourself at the mercy of dishonest people regularly because you just wouldn't put yourself in that position. It's one of the arguments that we have about people who are autistic and being interrogated. They can't fathom deception the same way because they wouldn't do it. They can't put themselves in that space. The term would be empathy. They cannot empathize with the position where someone would knowingly say something false and have some sort of purpose outside of what they would normally do. And we all kind of have that, a little bit of naivete where you're like, why would someone lie to me about this thing? When you start recognizing that when we look into the social media space and the actual like mainstream media space, a ton of the people that are involved there, they have this ulterior motive. I'm watching Jesse Kelly right now have a meltdown. And he won't call it a meltdown, but from the outside, it's like, holy crap. Are you really telling people to vote harder? Are you really telling people that an epic, horrific loss on a promise is in fact a good thing? Whenever that's why we're going to win is the answer, and you just have to get to that answer. The claim yesterday from Jesse Kelly, whose radio program I've been on, who generally speaking, I've agreed with a lot of the stuff that he said over the years, and I like it, except when he talks about Trump, where he has this bizarre blind spot. So he's either too far in and can't back out, kind of like Alex Jones style, who I think admitted to that sort of situation, or he's being incentivized in this crazy, goofy way so that you're selling your credibility. You only get one chance to do that. Yesterday, I read something that said, it's a good thing that the American people lost on the 14th Amendment decision on birthright citizenship. It's a good thing because now Americans are mad about it and they're going to get engaged. And all we need to do is keep blocking and tackling so we can get the right people into office so that they can do the thing that we always hoped. If you believe that, there's no saving you. You're too dumb. And I guess the question then goes to this sort of like broader thing. Can we get real journalism? And how do you know what it looks like? It looks like people who are not trying to sell you something because it benefits them. We're going to do a whole thing on that. We're going to take kind of a microcosm of MAGA is mad, and they're mad at Amy Coney Barrett. They're mad at the woman that they championed and said we needed her. She's the best. And everybody that was in the MAGA space said it. All the dishonest sort of scumbags said it. And you start thinking, maybe there's like a different agenda at play here. Like maybe they're actually being either paid to say it or there's a financial incentive for them to say it. Maybe they're doing this rug pull thing like they did with the meme coin, because they sure as hell can't claim that they're intelligent or academically honest if they're going to go out and show their face and not say, hey, by the way, whenever I make a prediction, I'm awful at it. When I say something and I tell you that this is the great idea, you should probably just look at my track record and it's shit. Let's start with that. So here's the can we do real journalism question.
Let's play a game. Who did real journalism when it mattered? Let's start with her, the now editor-in-chief at The Federalist. She said on September 23rd, 2020, there's no downside to Trump nominating Amy Coney Barrett. Thrilling journalism. No downside? None? Really? My journalism 2 days before, finding an article showing that Amy Coney Barrett was actually pro-lockdown. So there is one downside, that Trump during lockdowns is nominating a pro-lockdown judge. Not just a downside, potentially one of the worst downsides in modern history. So I wrote, Amy Coney Barrett supported the Orwellian lockdowns. Is President Trump about to set America up for failure? So you're telling me I could find that independently? I'm the CEO of my own company. I don't have some sort of massive team, and I figured that out by myself, but Molly couldn't figure that out, and she said that there's no downside. Predictably, like most dunces on the right, now Molly's panicking because Amy Coney Barrett today again sided with liberal judges, this time on birthright citizenship.
There's going to be the most important part of this clip in 1 second here. You'll hear it.
And she's really like, wow, this is really bad. Yeah, if only our side could actually do their job when it actually mattered and tell people the truth instead of pushing mouth-drooling propaganda slop that has brainwashed an entire generation so badly that literally their brains are currently broken, and old school media has pushed these people past the point of no return. So if you wonder why I talk about the right more than the left, this is why.
What? Why do we talk about the right more? Because they're the people that claim they were with us. That's why. That's why it matters. They're the ones that led you to believe that they were sharing honest information and they were telling you stuff that was accurate and that they were sharing the same interests as you, that they wanted the same outcomes. And then you find out like, oh, they're just liars and they're opportunists. And they're willing to take a paycheck to go work and tell people what they want to hear. And they don't have any interest in being like critical or have any self-reflection whatsoever. Did a whole program the other day about the reflecting pool being kind of a great little microcosm for the failure.
There's somebody that's like, the left, who pushes like sub 50 IQ brain rot slop, admitting that he worked for the Pentagon.
Yeah.
This is Graham Allen, who we talked about either yesterday or the day before.
Yes. My official title was actually senior strategic consultant to the Department of War, but
maybe I'm crazy too. And maybe it's because I feel like I'm like a lot of men where even though I'm in my 40s, like I still kind of think like a teenager. I just have better toys than teenagers do. Men, maybe you can tell me if you're in your 50s, at some point you go like, I'm a senior. I'm your senior. If I meet a guy who's in his 20s, like I have a neighbor right now and I think he's 27 and I think of him as a peer. He's not. Like realistically, he's not. Because when I was 27, I was retarded. But I don't look at people in their 20s and be like, I'm ever so better than you. I'm so much more senior than you. And I know that's probably wrong, but I don't look at myself. And if you put a title on me that was like, you're a senior this, I'd be like, yeah. I'm only 44, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just a regular dude. If you take the title in your, and I think Graham Allen is younger than me. I don't know for a fact, but I think he's in his 30s. If you take the title of senior something analyst, propaganda, slop minister, whatever, and you're proud of that, it tells me that that senior means that the junior people are basically completely useless. They're children. Anyway, he's going to talk about his title. So
whatever,
Yeah.
Who cares?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But before that, everybody knows this. I left the show for 6-7 months to go into the administration.
Completely abandoned me.
The Pentagon.
This is almost exactly the Daniel Bongino movement, is it not? I left my very well-paid gig of saying sloppy lies to go do sloppy lies for way cheaper, but to have access and maybe to aspire to some credibility. Graham Allen, government shill. Maybe it's your guy, but government shill, which makes more sense that he gets featured over on Rumble and he gets spots on Daniel Bongino's show, who is also a government shill. And I'm not saying that in a pejorative per se. I'm saying they literally shill the sloppy narrative from the government. So what else would you be if you're propagandizing on behalf of, and again, they don't have to keep paying you. Your credibility is now inextricably linked with the place that you left. It's like, why are you credible? Well, I was in this administration. It's like, okay, are you able to say things critical about the administration? Absolutely not. No, I'm 100% on board. Everything they do is the smartest, most amazing, greatest thing ever. I'll play you a shill that looks like that's currently in right now in just a second. And his name is the Kung Fu Plumber out of Oklahoma. America is the most amazing country in the world because a dim bulb like him can be in charge of things. That actually doesn't say what you think it is. It's not the flex you think. We'll finish this thought out here.
All right. And here I was just thinking these people were just super, super stupid. Silly me. Let me know if you like this game.
They're not super stupid. They're dishonest actors. They're people that are basically, they're motivated by things that they're not disclosing. You know, kind of like when you go out there and say what your meme coin is, and we're going to go in, we're going to stay in it, and we're going to lock in, we're here for the long haul. And it's like as soon as there's money in, you're like, rug pull, flopped out. All right. Here's the sad thing. There are real losses. There are real things that we are being regularly promised. And then there's the actual results. And here's the actual results from yesterday for all of you who think that we're voting our way out of this. By the way, I'm watching Brianna Morella in real time. And Brianna's a friend of the Suspendables, and we've spent time with her when we were at Mar-a-Lago. She came and hung out with us, and you know, I've seen her in places, and I'm friendly with her. I know she had some falling outs with certain people, but end of the day, I think she's trying. What's amazing is I'm watching this young woman who I think if I believe her, she aspires to be like a housewife. That's what she says. She's not living that way, but she says she wants to be a housewife, so I'll take her at her word. And she's posting things like, what are conservatives conserving? It's like, man, if only I knew somebody who had said that about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. What are conservatives conserving? What makes you conservative if you're not doing conservative things? If you're having Melania Trump come out and tell you about the LGBTQIA agenda and that we all love them, but also we need to protect women in sports. It's like, these are mutually incompatible things. They are mutually exclusive. You can't be both. And she also said something like, whenever you vote, what did you get? You don't get the SAVE Act or the Save America Act. You don't get this. You don't get that. You get Tom Massey kicked out. And she's basically saying we're not going to vote our way out of it, which is amazing to watch people slowly go from, I'm on board with everything this regime does. Give them time. Let them cook 6 to 8 months. And they're slowly all going either double down on stupid, which means they're stupid, they think you're stupid, or you're stupid and they're stupid. Or they're going to have this moment where they just go, holy crap, I got rug pulled. It's real. Here's a rug pull. This vote was an attempt to add the Save America Act, which already is flawed because it puts the federal government into something. The goal is to put the Save America Act into the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, which we do every year, and they always pass. The NDAA always gets passed because nobody can stand the idea of not funding the military-industrial complex, and the sort of the PR version of it is, you're going to leave the troops without money, you're going to leave the troops without a paycheck, like how dare you? You're going to not fund our military, our brave men and women that serve, okay? So the NDAA is like a guaranteed pass every year. If you want something to go, you stick it on there. And so the House was voting on a resolution to add the Save America Act to the NDAA and thus try to find a backdoor to getting it passed. And this is how the vote turned out.
This vote, the yeas are 198, the nays are 224. The resolution is not adopted.
Okay. So they were going to put it on the NDAA.
The House will be in order.
And they didn't get it. It didn't pass, but we're going to vote our way out of this. I'm not trying to be negative per se. I'm just recognizing like how silly it is. Meanwhile, what if I could give you bread and circuses? What if I could give you a performing monkey retard who would tell you how incredible things are so you could feel good about the country you're in as you slowly watch your net worth decline, your buying power go away, the gas prices stagnate. By the way, JD Vance went out the other day and said the reason why we needed the ceasefire with Iran is so that we could let some of the oil that was trapped in the Strait of Hormuz out and try to drop some of the global oil prices so we could refill the world's supply for a little bit. And then we could see the prices drop. And then we can go back to doing whatever we were doing where we're trying to, I don't know, negotiate with terrorists or whatever the hell we do. My eyes are very large if you're just listening and you can't see it. Very large eyes. I don't know what that's a hell of a thing to admit. In any case, just think about how awesome things are. This boneheaded goofball, and he really is, like Mullen is he's just awful. He runs around and says things, and every time he does, I want to not dislike him because I like people from Oklahoma, and I like people who are country and say country things. And I don't care if you're the most articulate person, if you're common sense. What I hate are frauds. I hate people that would be willing to tell you that something is worth a lot of money, have you dump money into it, and then walk off with all your cash. You know, like a rug pull. I hate that. I feel like we're being rug pulled with this patriotic bullshit. And I mean that very strongly. This feels like I'm going to get you excited about nostalgia, and I'm going to conflate it with patriotism. That's what this looks like for me. This is Fox News, which just gets, I guess, it's just boomer slop at this point.
You have an interesting background, American Indian background as well. Right. So when you look back at American 250, we're just wondering if you would take a moment as we get closer and closer to July 4th. What does it mean to you?
Well, look, I'm a little country boy from Westville, Oklahoma. This can only happen in America, right?
He's about to tell you, by the way, that he's a Native American Indian. Just look at the face on the screen right here for a second. Think about how Indian the Indian he is. This is the funniest thing about Oklahoma, is that there are people that look just like I look more Native American than Markwayne Mullin does. He's the whitest white guy. I don't know what his blood quorum is, but like we all look more Indian than he is. And he's about to tell you about how his ancestors walked to some land in Oklahoma and some other nonsense.
I still own the land, the Indian allotment land that my family walked to in the late 1830s as Cherokees. Wow. No one of my family's ever been involved in politics. I had to drop out of college because my dad needed help in a plumbing company. And at some way, through God's grace and the fact that I'm truly an American that lives in the greatest nation in the world. Remember, people are flooding to our borders and trying to get into our country. We're not going the other direction. And yet I'm sitting here as Secretary of the Homeland, getting to protect our homeland. Right. I think it's the greatest mission in the world. I haven't quit smiling. It's 100 days since I've been appointed. Right. And I have the greatest mission, and I truly believe in the President's cabinet to be able to protect my yard, your yard. I even try to protect New York. I know they don't like me, but the fact is, it's part of our homeland.
Right. Please don't stop. Please don't stop. We need you.
Oh my God, please don't stop. Please don't stop. Just keep going. Keep going. Say all the slop. Thanks, Fox News. This is what a Cherokee looks like, for whatever that's worth. I don't know if that's interesting to you. That doesn't look like Markwayne Mullin, even a little bit. So I don't know what percentage he is or how silly this is at this point. The whole concept of native blood in this country is bizarre. The idea of the reservation systems are atrocious. But there you go. That's what a Cherokee is. Just like Markwayne Mullin here. Who are these Cherokees? These are, yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, I just like to sometimes look into people, and it's Mark Wayne. For those of you who are asking, is it Mark? Is it Mark Dash Wayne? No, it's one word, Markwayne. Mark Wayne. That's a thing in Oklahoma. I'm not even mad about, I'm not mad about the name. I love the idea that he's a plumber. One of my favorite people that I've met since I've started doing this thing is a plumber. We talked to Sean Witzman, who's a plumber, and he's brilliant and esoteric and has archaic thoughts and interesting experiences and reminds me of the kind of people that I would meet when I was in college. And he doesn't need formal education to be smart and articulate and commonsensical and to make very interesting, logical leaps. And I just see the opposite of that in the Markwayne Mullin. What I heard was patriotism. We're going to protect you. It sounds like he said he was going to use government to do things instead of reduce the size of government. Kind of like everybody that's in government. They all think that government's the answer. So wouldn't it be nice if we had a political right wing in America? Am I nuts to think that? We have no actual, quote unquote, conservative political party. There's none. And it's very obvious if you pay attention. You've got fraudsters, you've got gimmicky, you got meme coins and rug pulls, you got people that tell you that government is the solution to government problems, and then you got other people who say that government is the solution to all the problems. That's your choice. Do you want to solve government problems with government, or do you want to solve all problems with government? That's your version of Republican or Democrat. Meanwhile, that's all center-left information at the very minimum. Listen, the reason that we're not going to be able to do what you want is because we need more money for the federal government. We need to max out the federal budget so that we can do the largest deportation operation in American history. Who said that? Donald J. Trump. DJT, American flag emoji, right? Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history was the second most important thing on Agenda 47, is the thing that people will remember Donald Trump campaigned on, period. Seal the border, get them out. Stop the bleeding and start getting rid of the toxins. That's what we ran on. I was there. So are you. So what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? Are we going to do an executive order? Are we going to admit that we just failed? I got Tom Homan, who was the hero of the Republic, we were told, who's received what, the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama. Fact check me on that, but I think that's correct. What are we going to do? Because we just got a dirty break where Americans that hadn't been paying attention just found out what the actual 14th Amendment says. Should we put the 14th Amendment on the screen? Yeah, let's do that. Here we go. They just found out that something that was ratified in July of 1868 meant the words that were in it. And that Donald Trump's executive order, even though I agree that he was correct, and even though the sentiment was correct, that there was like 100 years of case law that basically said, yeah, too bad. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you think is true. This is the way we've been operating. And you put women in to the court. You put one of them in who's going to do exactly what you think a woman who adopted foreign children would do. She's a nice lady, like so many squishy people I see at our church. Can't be mean. You have to encourage their lifestyle, that stuff. Citizenship, equal protection, apportionment, Civil War debt, 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, this is the contested part, are the citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or the immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws. This little clause right here, this little section 1, has been used for a million things that fundamentally change the way that our Constitution is looked at. No way around it. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers. They go on here and they basically eliminated the issue with this is a free slave situation. You've got people, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or an elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of the state legislature or an executive or judicial officer in a state to support the Constitution of the United States, engaged in insurrection and rebellion. This is trying to punish the people that were part of the Confederacy. You don't want those people coming back in to political power. This first section here does so much work, and that's what people just found out, that the words mean what the words mean according to our court, even though I think they're wrong. And that means you get to hang out and stay. So here's what we're going to do, okay? Because you were promised the largest deportation operation in human history. We said it, but we didn't exactly mean it then. We thought that the Supreme Court was going to do something that they were obviously never going to do. And since they didn't do the thing that we hoped that they would do, even though we knew they wouldn't do it, now we're super duper ooper pooper scooper serious. Okay? We're now going to do the serious deportation thing. We're already doing record numbers of deportations, even though we're not. But now we're really going to do it. Here comes Tom Homan. Let's go.
And the first thing I saw the decision, which I don't agree with, is okay, now we step up enforcement. We step up more enforcement. Even though we're doing record amounts of enforcement now, we need to do more. And not only that, we need to, really buckle down on birth tourism. We have many investigations on birth tourism, but we need to quadruple down on that. And look, I agree with Judge Alito. First of all, I've been doing this since 1984. That's when I started in Border Patrol. This birthright citizenship has always been a major driver for illegal immigration. During the Biden administration, the Yuma Hospital, the El Paso Hospital, 100% maternity beds were illegal aliens. That's not a coincidence. That's not by accident. But it's always been a drive for illegal immigration. But more importantly, it's a national security issue. Because of birth tours investigation I'm aware of, you got nationals from China and Russia coming here by the thousands, having a baby and leaving. Now, so we have U.S. citizens by the thousands and just continued by the millions living in countries that I think are adversaries to us that can come here and have an impact on how this country is run. So it's a national security issue, a huge proportion that we need to address. And I hope Congress does it.
This is all news. Who could have known this? Who would have thought that there was a national security issue by having people become citizens and then not have loyalty to the United States where they are now citizens since they were born here? Who would have thought that? Maybe the guy who said seal the border and carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Maybe that guy would have known that. What do you think? Do you think possibly? The difference between Bavino and Holman. Holman just told you our goal now is to double down and triple down, and we need to get rid of birth tourism. Do you guys know what birth tourism is? Because I'll talk about that in 1 second here. It happens all the time. It's not already being hyper prioritized. And I don't blame that guy, to be fair. He's saying what he's supposed to say so he can keep his job and do the thing he's supposed to be doing. I blame the person that's at DHS that looks like a squish. And I blame the president who hired the guy at DHS who also sounds like a squish. And I'll play you some thoughts of that. If you guys are watching on Rumble, give us a like. YouTube, same thing. Subscribe. KyleSeraphinShow.com is how you get to the Spotify channel. If you don't have Spotify, you can even watch it there on your desktop. You don't even have to download it. You can literally just go to the desktop there. KyleSeraphinShow.com will give you audio and video. It'll give you the limited number of interludes and breaks. We should be the same on YouTube now, but I can't say the same thing for Rumble. I don't have that control. You may hear an audio ad or a video ad right now. Leave that little space. Encourage you guys to check it out. Also, if you guys want to be a member of our program, you'll see that there's a Locals logo right there underneath me, underneath the microphone. Locals, you can join us and be part of the community. You can call into the show on Thursdays when we do our call-in show where I get to hear what you guys are about, and I appreciate that. And it also just allows me to continue to be independent and not have to have any opinions that other people have. I don't have to take the Mike Davis, Will Chamberlain, whatever, what's her name, Molly something or other, Federalist money. We don't take it. I have my opinions. They're mine. You may or may not agree with them, but they're mine. And I don't have to apologize for them to anybody, as far as I can tell. I did get knocked off Facebook the other day. I just found out, and I was dealing with it yesterday because we were going to do some stuff with Meta, which I despise. But it's a kind of necessary evil where I'm at. And I'm going looking, and they said that they kicked off our call-in show because it had nudity or sexual activity in the video. It's literally a video of me sitting at this chair taking your phone calls, and that's what they claimed. Very funny stuff. I think we won on appeal for whatever it's worth, but somebody flagged it as being nudity. It could have been one of you guys calling in and saying things about your excitement and meeting intruders at the door naked with an axe. I can't say for certain, but I do know that we got flagged on that. And then another one said that I was showing weapons, and the weapons were Patriot Protect. So maybe you guys want to protect yourself with that. All right. Here's the differential between Holman talking about national security and Bavino. Bavino articulates the message pretty aggressively, and then we're going to talk about birth tourism if you're not familiar with it and what's going on. It's a real thing. They estimate 1 million American citizen babies are being raised in China right now that have American citizenship but don't live here, and will be able to come back here anytime they like because they have their birth certificate, which will guarantee them access to this country. That should really bother you. 1 million in just China.
When we talk about illegal aliens without a criminal history, we've got that cultural aspect of our society that is under attack. They're going to vote us out. They're going to outbreed us. We need to remove all of these people. I say that the regular run-of-the-mill illegal alien is far more of a threat than those criminal aliens, terrorists, and folks with significant criminal histories. I'm going to say that again. They're more of a threat because our culture is at stake here. We can always get the terrorists, the criminal aliens, the worst of the worst. They're always going to have that criminal record. We can hit them, from now till Sunday. For the next 10 years, we can hit those folks all the time, but we've got a very small window to go after those 100 million other illegal aliens right here in the United States via mass deportations. So that was also baked into that strategy we're talking about, is doing that. Our culture is at stake. Our national identity is at stake. Our values, traditions, and culture is at stake. We need them all gone at the same time.
The argument that your run-of-the-mill illegal alien, a visa overstay, or somebody who crept across the border under Biden, or someone who's quote-unquote seeking asylum, whatever else, is more of a threat. It's an interesting concept. The problem is, if you're in this country and you're surviving in this country, there's almost no way that you're not involved in criminal fraud, that you're not involved in felonious activity, whether it be identity theft because you're working and you're stealing a social security number. It's very difficult to imagine that any of these people could survive without either taking money from the public benefits in a fraudulent way or working in an illicit way that they're not allowed to be here. I told you I'd bring up the gym thing for just a second. I made a misstatement the other day. I said that when I called into my HOA company and told them that I wanted to figure out what was going on with my gym key fob, that I got an Indian person calling me back. I've listened to it again, and I had about an hour's worth of conversations with people in this company, which, by the way, is based in Austin. It's based in a tiny little space in Austin. And then I went looking, and I was like, this is just a freaking HOA company. Like, why am I dealing with people who are Indian? They're not Indian. I think they're Filipino. They have that kind of like Filipino-y sound. I don't know how to explain it, but it sounds like men who are dancing when they're talking. And I got a voice message from one, and I've talked to at least 4 or 5 more. And yeah, I have recorded those calls because they told me they were recording my call. So I just recorded their call as well. And I've got this audio of these people. And I kept asking them, I go, where are you based? And they go, sir, I am based in Austin. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, what time are you in? And they're like, oh, I'm in the Central Standard Time Zone District. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Nobody talks like that. Where do you live in Austin, bro? You liar. Why are you told that you live in Austin? Like, why is that part of the game? It's super weird. It's that like nasally thing. And so then I was like, so why is it that everybody I call is Indian? And this guy's like, sir, we are not Indian. I'm like, we are Asian and also Americans. So I go looking at the website for this company, and I find out that there are 6 regional vice presidents, and there are 4 vice presidents of human relations. They have 4 HR VPs. And they had a dozen community service directors and all. It's like, oh shit, it's a huge company that's making me call about getting into the gym that's 4 doors down from me. And I have to call some a-hole in the Philippines. I almost want to play you should I play you this? I should. Let me just do it. Whatever. I want you to tell me if you know what this voice is. I never do this kind of stuff, but see if I can get it to pull up. This is Mark, if you believe that.
Hello, Kyle. This is Mark from Goodwin and Company, the HOA. We do receive your voicemail in regards for the loss. The loss thing that you got. So what we're going to do, sir, is you need to contact the property owner and have him to submit like a request, this particular request.
This particular request. This is why we're going to have to kindly do the needful. If you could just do the needfuls. And then to this particular moment, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for this information. That guy, that voice, you know what I'm talking about? That's a Philippine voice. And I should have known better. I've talked to Philippines people enough whenever I used to talk to T-Mobile. Hi, this is Mark. This is not Mark. What is your real name, bro? Don't give me that. In any case, is our president on board with what's going on here? Are we going to get rid of birth tourism? Are we going to get rid of people that don't belong here? Are we not going to have people in this country that shouldn't be here? Are we going to go hardcore on the illegal aliens? Because I heard that's what we were doing originally. Except I also heard this.
Peter?
Thank you, President Trump. I have 2. First, on immigration. What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
And my other question about the Middle East.
What happened to the guy that was going to do the largest deportation operation in American history? Well, you know, the farmers and the leisure and the hotels and the who's going to pick them. And then you end up hiring the criminals. They hire the worst people. We got to keep the good illegal aliens and not the bad illegal aliens. Is that what you voted for? Is that what you voted for? Laura Ingraham says that's not what she voted for. Just saying. That's not what Laura Ingraham voted for. She didn't want that. But the Supreme Court has spoken. So what are you going to do?
I guess I have to accept it's the Supreme Court, so I'll accept. I think it's very bad for our nation. We're the only nation that does it. No other nation does that birthright citizenship. No, not even close. Some did it, they ended it. It's tremendously destructive. It's extremely costly. I don't know, it's up to them. But in terms of for the good of the country, it'd be great if they didn't allow it. It would be great. But I can't tell you. The Slaughter case was the big case today. That was really a big case because it gave strength to presidents and strength to the presidency, a very important case. It's been going on for almost 100 years, think of that, and this was the ruling that really topped everything by a lot today,
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Here, what is the administration prepared to do to protect the country, and what can it do after this ruling?
Well, one of the things we're going to have to do is just continue to enforce the border, Laura. This is a very disappointing ruling from the Supreme Court. Of course, we respect it, but we also think that it was a major, major mistake. As Justices Alito and Thomas pointed out, you know, one of the things that might invite, Laura, is people to come here quite literally on a vacation, give birth, and then all of a sudden the child and their family have the full benefits of American citizenship. It's just a preposterous ruling, and the absurdity of that outcome suggests why the Supreme Court should have went the other way. Now, I know a lot of conservatives, Laura, certainly the people that I'm talking to, that you're talking to, are extremely disappointed in this. I do actually think there's a really big silver lining here, and that's the simple fact that a lot of legal experts expected this case to go the wrong direction by 7-2 or even 8-1.
Yeah.
The fact that this case was a 5-4 decision effectively means that the concept of birthright citizenship, which is an absurdity to the 14th Amendment, that concept is hanging by a thread.
Guys, we lost, but only by a little bit. Man, that could be the motto of the MAGA, right? We almost won, guys. Vote harder. Wish more. Trust the plan just a little bit more, and then we can get it over the finish line. We only lost 5-4. It's one vote away. Then again, if it was another vote in the other direction, then it would have been like a total blowout. So like, you know, like what, that's a silver lining, is that we just lost by a little bit. It's a loss, but it was like the best way to lose. It's a close game. Like, what? Is that really what he said? Yeah, that's what he said. Can you imagine somebody would come here and they would just be like on vacation and then have a baby in America? They literally do that. It's called birth tourism. There are a million women raising babies in Chinese that have American citizenship because they did that. We had calls come in when I was working for the FBI. They didn't know what to do with it. Like, they were like, is this a counterintelligence problem? There are 35 pregnant ladies hanging out in a 3-bedroom house in Fairfax, Virginia. Fairfax PD busts the house for some other reason. I don't know, noise ordinance, city code violation, too many people, too many occupants, whatever. Fire code. And they're like, whoa, guys, we don't know what to do. There's like all these pregnant ladies about to pop. Do you want to do something about it? And the answer the FBI had was like, we don't even know what to do with that. We have no idea. That was under Trump administration 1.0, by the way. Just saying, that was my personal experience working in Washington, right next to the nation's capital. Nobody knew what to do. They were like, well, if they have valid visas, what they would do is they'd come in and they would either get the visa and then have the baby right away, or they would get a visa, they would overstay, but they would have the baby here anyway, and the baby would get American citizenship. As long as they get that piece of paper that says they were born in Fairfax or Omaha or San Francisco or wherever the hell they were born, they go back and they can always claim American citizenship based on our birthright things, which is freaking insane. I totally agree. It's also written down. So there are two movements that people have said in the MAGA movement. There are two answers to this. There's J.D. Vance, telling you that don't worry about it because we almost won or we lost by a little. So that's good news. The tide is changing. That's a hell of a position. The second position is We need to ban pregnant women from visiting the United States. That's a hell of a thing to say.
My bing bong ain't out. I'm chilling. Bing bong's not out. I'm good.
As long as your bing bong's not out, you're allowed to come here, I think. So anyway, we got ban the pregnant ladies and police women and make them do pregnancy tests on the way into the United States. You can't even stop freaking terrorists. We bring in absolute garbage into this country, and you can't stop that. So you're going to stop pregnant ladies coming in? You're going to make them pee on a stick? Give me a freaking break. Okay, but there's that. And then the last one is just ban all the people. Nobody can visit America. America is closed. That's the realistic claim. This is the tough talk that we're going to get. I kid you not. This is one of the arguments being made at the moment. We're going to just stop all visits of all kinds, including people like, what's his name? Brandon Gill said this. Congressman who's married to a young woman who's the daughter of an immigrant. He's going to shut down America. Chip Roy said the same thing. Apparently the talking points came out that we just need to stop. There's no energy for a constitutional amendment to change the 14th. There's no energy to get a convention of states. There is no energy to change the law on immigration. They can't even get voting with an ID done, and there's no movement towards it. The only thing that I've seen that we're able to get done is when people are shamed into position that if they were to vote no, they will be voted out of office immediately, and it'll be running every attack ad after them. I actually have that coming up in a sec. But let's first get the tough guy talk from absolutely not going to happen, Ville. Here's Chip Roy saying we're going to shut down America to everybody.
The United States Supreme Court manufacturing out of thin air a complete abomination of a rule.
Literally in the words of the law, literally in the 14th Amendment. But okay, yeah. And by the way, has been the law of the land for like almost 150 years.
By the Chief Justice, suggesting that you can simply become a citizen from being born on dirt, thereby validating the abhorrent practice of baby factories and moving people here to be born to be able to become a citizen, leaving us under no choice but to do what we must do to say, pause immigration, just stop it. Stop all immigration, because if it's going to be exploited for people to come here when they're pregnant, people to allow somebody who's working for the Chinese Communist Party and to come here and have children to become American citizens, and then have our laws exploited like they were under the previous administration. It is why this Congress should act to pause all immigration.
What's that, bro? You're going to pause all immigration? Really? Cool. Cool story. Brandon Gill said the same thing. I like Brandon Gill as a person. He's a nice guy. I met him on Police State. He's married to Dinesh D'Souza's daughter. You guys may know that. Maybe you don't know that. That's okay. Now you do. So why is he in office? Because he had the backing of Dinesh D'Souza, which is a really good person to back you in a state like Texas. And, you're married. Your father-in-law was an immigrant to the country. We're going to just stop all the movement into this country. That's the claim. We're going to get the Chip Roy thing. We got no other choice. People will die. We're going to shut it. America's closed, bitches. That's not real. Like, there's no energy for that. Sounds good, though, I guess. I mean, it sounds super tough. You're like, this guy's for real, man. He's going to shut it all down. He's not going to take any crap. That's what Chip Roy's my guy. Oh, Chip Roy not coming back next year. How about Stephen Miller? A lot of tough talk. Not a lot of follow through.
Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller says, Stephen, how'd you feel when you saw the decision come down?
Well, I had two feelings. First, the fact that it was 5-4, so agonizingly close, just underscored that the legal community on the right and left has been so wrong for so many years, saying this was going to be a 9-0 ruling against President Trump.
You guys kind of see the talking point when J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller must have wargamed out that the talking point is it was so close that we barely lost.
The heartbreaking part of this is thinking about what it means for America over the long term. Well, the short term and the long term.
What it means is that business as usual, which has been going on since 1868, will continue to go on. Can you imagine how outraged? We're so outraged. We're so mad. We're going to close America.
Look, President Trump won some massive, unprecedented victories with the Supreme Court, like the Haitian TPS ruling, the asylum ruling.
Didn't you guys say that you weren't going to deport people, and then you had to go out and try to say that you were going to deport people, and then you said it, but then your Secretary of Homeland Security wasn't sure what he was going to do, and then he just like did a 50 jump cut video trying to claim that temporary means temporary, but like there's no follow through? I was there too. That was yesterday, bro.
The Slaughter ruling giving him unfettered authority to terminate federal bureaucrats.
The Slaughter ruling, big deal. Everyone loves it. Everyone's super excited. I heard Donald Trump say it as well. Yes, you can get rid of people that are in like the Federal Trade Commission, but you can't get rid of people that are at the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve still rules America. 1913 is still the year that the next phase of America went on, and it has been the death phase. I'm not trying to be like flippant about it, but I am being flippant about it because these problems are north of 100 years old. Anyway, I love the outrage. Let's see if there's any more outrage. And then I want to hear what Jesse Waters feels, since we're talking about feelings.
But this is absolutely a deep knife wound in the heart of the American Republic. Look, Jesse, I can step tomorrow onto the deck of a 747. It does not mean that I am the pilot of that plane and I'm qualified to fly it. Just physically being on U.S. soil does not make you a citizen or qualified to carry on or capable of executing the inheritance of this country.
Sounds good. But that was true yesterday, and it was true the day before that, and it's true today, and so nothing's changed. But let's keep talking about something. Here we go.
We have people from all over the world, from third world nations that on their own would have never invented the wheel, let alone modern technology, let alone medicine, let alone air travel. And they can just come into the country, have a baby at a hospital, paid for by you and me, and then that baby's automatically a citizen. That baby can sit on a jury when he turns 18 and sit in judgment of you, and sit in judgment of me, and sit in judgment of our loved ones, can decide who our mayors are, our governors.
I mean, that sounds really outrageous. So maybe we should get rid of the thing that allows people to live here, that would bring them here in the first place. Maybe you should do the, I don't know, conservative thing. I feel like I'm Bobby Sauce right now. I want to be like, why are we not talking about the stuff that's upstream that brings all these people to come here and have their babies illegally and then raise them either here or somewhere else? Why are we not talking about that? You can prioritize all of the Chinese people that are coming in here to subvert us and raising their Chinese babies in China that are American citizens. And you can point that out. The people that are doing that, they have a very different goal. Those people are kind of dangerous. The birth tourism, they're doing it in Turkey and some other places as well. But let's talk about real specifically the reasons why the third world nations, the shitholes that can't figure out how to build the wheel or medicine or the internet or drive cars or whatever, all those people, why are they coming to the United States? Why is there a hospital that's paid for by you and me? And I've worked in it, and that is legit. Your insurance costs are because you're paying for you plus the other 4 people that came in that have no insurance, that don't have $5 to make a copay towards their emergency room treatment, even though they called 911 on the government phone that they were on. They jumped into a government-funded ambulance, which means you paid for it, came to an emergency room, and then billed the government for their care, which really just comes down to the people that actually have insurance, which is a scam. It's freaking nuts. The logical answer is we should be moving upstream and saying, why is government in the business of healthcare? Why is government in the business of making sure people can buy houses? Why is government in the business of doing anything except the government? Protecting the American people from force and fraud. The end. Secure your borders. Work out some trade deals. Do mutual defense. Build an army. Handle weights and measures. If you really want to, you could have them do the interstate road system, but I'd be kind of cool with them not doing that. Department of Transportation, gone. Department of Commerce, why? Department of Education. There was a video from the White House yesterday. Donald Trump brought in some kids who were like, I don't know, spelling bee champions or something. And he's like, this is the Secretary of Education, brought to you by Carl's Jr. And he's like, isn't it incredible? She's so awesome. She's Linda McMahon. She was a world wrestling lady. What? Remember the executive order said we were going to get rid of the Department of Education? And then we're like out there cheering on, like, we have the best Secretary of Education, brought to you by Carl's Jr. How come you don't have tattoos, people? Like, we're doing idiocracy. You're living in it, and we're watching it, and no one's asking the simple question like, hey, stop putting Gatorade on the plants, okay? Brawndo is not what plants crave. They need water, not electrolytes or whatever. It's so wild. And then the theater, the performative outrage. You might as well have somebody with a freaking machine gun shooting at the State of the Union. I literally watch Idiocracy, and I just go, we're at a version of this. It's just way scarier because it involves a surveillance state. I talked to George Hill the other day. I don't think he would be mad about me saying this. He listened to the show a couple days back, and he goes, some of the things you're saying, I'm not sure if everybody's picking up on it, But if we are having a reboot of the 1990s, and I do think that we are, I think that America, like both emotionally and intellectually, is at the place where we're like, the debt is insurmountable. Back then, by the way, it was like $7 trillion. Now it's at 40. The debt was insurmountable. The system looked too corrupt to be able to do any meaningful reform. And the only answer was, it's going to get violent. There's two things that are true at once. I'm not specifically advocating for violence, and I'm not telling people they should go be violent, but I think that it's inevitable that it will happen. The problem and the reason why we do not have violence in the country right now by men who look like and sound like and think like me, which is probably some of you out there, the reason that we don't have violence is because no one knows what the target would be that would actually affect change. And if you were to just get violent because you're pissed off, there would be no actual reform, there'd be no actual change. If we could point out, like, hey, if you just kill these MFers, then it all gets better. Those guys are dead. Guaranteed. You have an entire generation of people who came out of the global war on terror who were told one thing: go kill the bad men, stop them from bringing that evil stuff to American soil. And then you're looking around going, I think the bad men are here. We just don't know which ones would actually affect change. Some of them are so old they're about to die off on their own. Some of them are so like not obviously corrupt that it's not really clear where the violence would be effective. So why would you get involved in a violent coup that would not have any result? How do you overthrow the American government with violence? It's not obvious to me how it would happen. And this was always the argument against the January 6th quote unquote insurrection, which, by the way, has something to do with what's going on in the 14th Amendment, because all of that was about an actual insurrection where the country split and people were like, I am no longer subservient to this shit country. It doesn't mean that it was shit. It just means that's what I thought. I'm standing up for my state. I believe in our state and our things and our way of life and whatever, slavery and all the other things that went along with it. But there's no obvious target where you're like, if we just took out this group of people, whoever they are, if you had a target package where you're like, these people deleted from the chessboard equals change you want, those people would be dead in a heartbeat. I have zero doubt about this. And that's the thing that's so crazy, because people are like, what are you advocating for? I was like, I'm advocating that I don't have the solution, you don't have the solution, and it's not obvious that there may even be a solution. So just insulate what you can affect yourself. Build up your faith in God and know that you don't have to win on this earth. That is a really hard thing to do if you're a man. It's super hard to look into the world and go, my job is to make positive change and affect things on behalf of my family so that they can have the best survivability and outcomes. And I also don't have the ability to actually do the thing that I want my job to be. That sucks. It's brutal. So submission to a higher power, whatever you want to call God, is the problem for most people. It's a lifelong struggle. And then you go, well, what else can I do? Well, I can love my family. I could do that. I try to do that every day. I hope you guys do too. I can work on my fitness, especially when the freaking Filipino guy calls me back and gets me my gym key fob, which I need to be able to get into the damn gym. But I could work out on my own, I guess. I can work on my firearms and my skills and my handling. I can work on the capabilities and the technologies, and I can work on the materials and equipment that I have to be able to hold them and move them and all that. I'm loading magazines in the garage right now. I've got something like 50 magazines stacked up of AR-15 mags, different calibers and different projectiles like we talked about with the pallet cleanse the other day. I'm doing that, all right? And I can work on my food supply as best I can. I can look for a place where I can do some farming. And I can have a good sense of humor about it. We can be funny. We can do all the Fs. We keep adding Fs to it, right? It started off with 4 and then 5, and there's probably 6 Fs, because if you don't have humor, you're going to fall apart. I talked to a guy who just retired from the CIA yesterday, and it's like, the answer is that we got to laugh with like some gallows humor. If you've ever gone through anything difficult, if you've been through Ranger School, and some of you will have done that, if you've gone through a selection for a special operations group, if you've gone through BUDS, or if you've gone through the Q course with the special forces, you've gone through one of these things, pararescue NDOC like I did, you go through one of these courses, like humor, when it sucks, is the only way you get through. Like, it's awful, and like your body hurts and everything makes no sense, and you're hungry and you're tired and you're in pain. And it just like, it's an awful situation. And then you laugh. You're like, I'm getting paid minimum wage to do this. And there's some dirtbag guy. There's some guy in his 30s who lives in the suburbs that's a software engineer that's paying to go to a boot camp to like get a hard experience. And like, I'm getting paid like some low wage to go get the crap kicked out of me by these like savage athletes, operator killers. Like, it's funny. So at least we got that. We could have a good sense of humor about it. But honest to God, If there were obvious targets that if you eliminated them from the chessboard, the change would happen, it'd be all over. It would. The American Caesar would strike, and whoever that person is would not lead a lot. You don't need a lot of people to affect that change. The problem is that we think you need a lot of people because nobody knows what the change would be. That's probably the realest thing that you'll ever hear on any podcast. Maybe I haven't heard anyone say it that way. So clip that. Unsettling. It actually is truly unsettling for whatever that's worth. I don't feel good about it. Just the answer is not apparent. If you guys are listening to this and it's making you think, great. Give us a like on Rumble, YouTube, subscribe, etc. Join us in the mornings. Join us on Spotify, KyleSeraphinShow.com. Go there and listen up. Share it with a friend. Send this link for today's podcast to someone that you love who's like frustrated and doesn't know what the answer is. And just let them know you're not alone. It's pretty obvious that a lot of us don't know what the answer is, but it doesn't mean that we're not out there assessing when it comes up. We have to keep paying attention to these things because an opportunity may present itself, whatever that is, and how we can fix it. I don't know what it will be, but I don't think it's going to be voting. Just going to tell you that right now, because I think we voted for the guy that said all the things that we wanted, and we're not getting that even close. We're getting the exact opposite. You may hear an ad on the audio platforms right now, so I'll leave a little space. And in fact, you may hear them on YouTube as well. All right. Let's see here. Let's do some dunking on people that do dumb things and say dumb things. Let's see if I've got this one here. What is this one all about? I talked to you about feelings. I was talking to you a little bit about
kamikaze dolphins.
The kamikaze dolphins. And we heard Jesse Waters interviewing Stephen Miller, and he said, how do you feel about the 14th Amendment thing? Well, I'd like to turn around and find out how Jesse Waters feels about it. How do you think he feels?
Jesse, how do you feel about this?
I'm angry.
Are you?
Alito said we blew it. He said in his dissent, this was one of the most important cases the court's ever seen, and we blew it. He and Thomas were basically like, yeah, this devalues and degrades U.S. citizenship because it opens it up for anchor babies and for birth tourists. Now, the Chinese communists could take their pregnant wife to Guam, have a baby, fly the baby back to Beijing with a U.S. passport, and then that baby, when he's older, can get U.S. welfare, he can vote. Technically, when he's 35, he could become president of the United States. That's the stupidest thing anyone ever thought of. Literally, the guy, the senator who put this out in the 19th century said it shouldn't involve foreigners, aliens, or families of ambassadors. Everybody agreed at the time. The guy that sponsored it, the guy that initiated it, the architect of this 14th Amendment, the AG, the president at the time, Grant, all said, yeah, no foreigners, no visitors. Well, this was also before airplanes. So no one could imagine enemies of the United States flying here to have babies that 18 years later they could use against us to sway elections, soak up welfare, and then steal our defense technology. Because that's what they do. They steal it. So I'm annoyed. And they're using migration as a weapon against us. And the court didn't protect us. And the Democrats are in cahoots with this. They like it because they like it for money and power. So obviously, we have to agree with the court's decision. Congress not going to do anything about it. And I think the DOJ has to ramp up prosecutions of birth tourism fraud. And Trump's got to deport even more because this is demographic destruction.
We really like to hone in on that 5-4 decision. And if we had one other person go in the right direction, right, then you'd have what? You'd have 5-4 in the other way, so you'd win narrowly, and that person could have been Amy Coney Barrett. You have you got the Chief Justice is going to do what he's going to do. So there's a MAGA outrage right now. Kid you not. The outrage is, how on earth did this woman betray you? How did a woman that's a wife and a supposedly devout Catholic who's full of compassion do the devout Catholic compassion woman thing? This is the frustration right now. MAGA melts down at DEI Trump justice for citizenship betrayal. This is coming from the folks over at the Daily Beast. It's MAGA dissent. The vote was the second time in as many days that Amy Coney Barrett has ruled against the president. They're very, very mad about it. She was so good. She was going to be the best. wasn't she? There were some arguments being made that she was the only answer. If only we could go back in time and find out who said those things.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett, according to news reports, is tonight the top candidate in line to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court. The president nominated Barrett to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals back in May of 2017. If you haven't seen her opening remarks during those confirmation hearings, they're worth finding on YouTube. In it, she introduces her family, 7 children, 2 adopted with special needs from Haiti, her husband, her parents, a revealing look into Amy Coney Barrett's life. Mike Johnson has known her for a very long time. He represents Louisiana in the United States Congress. They went to high school together. We're happy to have Congressman Johnson on with us tonight. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. I've got to say, this is not legal analysis, but just as a person, she seems maybe the finest person I've ever seen under discussion for this job. Is she?
That's certainly my view. We came from different parts of the state in Louisiana, but we met in leadership, student leadership events when we were younger. And she stood out even then, when we were 17 years old, Tucker. This is a person who's extremely talented, but also gracious and humble. And that is the kind of leadership that's recognized and not imposed. She's had a phenomenal career. She's a brilliant constitutional scholar. And I'll tell you what I told the president on Saturday. I've spoken to him about Amy a couple of occasions over the last couple of years because we wanted her to have this position. I said, Mr. President, to sum it up, she's a female Scalia, sir.
Let's just leave it right there, that female Scalia. That's obviously Tucker Carlson talking to Smithers back when Tucker was on Fox News, and they were marching down the party line here.
So, Madam President, as my friends across the aisle come down and talk about this nomination, I think it is important that we look at the reason behind some of their work and their words and where they think they are going. Because they've not made this nomination about Judge Barrett. They've not made it about the Supreme Court. They have made it about themselves. They've made it about themselves. Their wish list, their desire for activist judges. How about that? They fear conservative activism. What are they going for? Liberal activism. That's the kind of judge they're looking for. Not a constitutionalist, not somebody that calls balls and strikes. They're looking for somebody who's going to do their work for them. So they don't have to pass something through Congress. They don't have to deal with we the people. They want to just say, well, according to the Supreme Court, this is the law of the land. So that is why they chose not to get to know Judge Barrett. And I will tell you, I found her to be one of the most impressive women that I have ever had the opportunity to get to know.
That's Senator Marsha Blackburn in 2020. And she's running for governor, even though she's in her 70s. So that's good. What else we got? Anyone else that has political aspirations?
Well, look, they tried to throw some rocks at Judge Barrett. I will say the big news out of yesterday is that the Democrats surrendered. They've given up. By midday, they were all gone. The hearing room was empty. There were 2 Democrats in the entire hearing room. And I think they recognize that on the merits, her credentials are impeccable. They don't have any questions that are moving the ball. She's going to be confirmed. And, you know, it's interesting, that exchange where Chris Coons, he talks generally about equal rights, but he doesn't get into any specifics. Yesterday, when I was questioning Judge Barrett, I walked through all of the cases at the court that are hanging in the balance 5-4. As you know, these are all the cases that I talk about in my new book, One Vote Away. Going through free speech, our rights to criticize our politicians, to talk about public issues, hanging in the balance 5-4. Religious liberty, our rights to worship according to our faith, according to our conscience, 5-4.
Oh, man, you guys remember when Ted Cruz really liked free speech and thought people in the media should be able to say whatever they like and they should be able to criticize those in power and be able to talk about religion any way they wanted? That was amazing. That was crazy. What was going on there?
The Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, the radicals the left wants to put on the court, they have 4 votes for essentially erasing the Second Amendment from the Bill of Rights. And I'll tell you, it is very revealing that not a single one of the Democrats wants to debate the merits or substance of that. They know that their radical agenda for the court is really unpopular.
Yeah, 5-4.
What is the administration prepared to do to protect the country, and what can it do after this ruling?
Well, one of the things we're going to have to do is just continue to enforce the border, Laura. This was a very disappointing ruling from the Supreme Court. Of course, we respect it, but we also think that it was a major, major mistake, as Justices Alito and Thomas pointed out. You know, one of the things that might invite, Laura, is people to come here quite literally on a vacation, give birth, and then all of a sudden the child and their family have the full benefits of American citizenship. It's just a preposterous ruling, and the absurdity of that outcome suggests why the Supreme Court should have went the other way.
But, Mr. Vice President, is there any kind of silver lining? Could we possibly be 1 vote away?
Now, I know a lot of conservatives, Laura, certainly the people that I'm talking to, that you're talking to, are extremely disappointed in this. I do actually think there's a really big silver lining here. And that's the simple fact that a lot of legal experts expected this case to go the wrong direction by 7-2 or even 8-1. The fact that this case was a 5-4 decision effectively means that the concept of birthright citizenship, which is an absurdity to the 14th Amendment, that concept is hanging by a thread.
Outstanding. That is so good to know that we had a silver lining, that we were just 1 vote away. It's almost like there could be a book written about it. Maybe we could get someone like Ted Cruz to write that book in 2020. Oh, wait, he already did. Let's go to my other favorite people. These people are my favorite punching bags. We're calling them FAGA because I don't know what else to call them. This is FAGA. This is the, This is Will Chamberlain of the Article 3 Project, which takes credit for helping get Judge Amy Coney Barrett confirmed. Will Chamberlain, 25 of September 2020, says, "I'm really stoked to be working with Mike Davis and the Article 3 Project to help get Judge Amy Coney Barrett confirmed." All right. This is the video that is part of that post. 2025. FAGA, the internet is forever, guys.
Hi, my name is Mike Davis, and I run the Article 3 Project. We have waited more than a lifetime to get to this point where we can get a true conservative majority on the Supreme Court. I served as one of the staff leads for the confirmations of Justice Neil Gorsuch and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, President Trump's first 2 picks to the Supreme Court of the United States. I've been through the last 2 fights. Justice Gorsuch, Justice Kavanaugh. If you thought those fights were tough, you just wait for this next one. Those are going to look like a walk in the park. There have been 13 Supreme Court justices nominated and confirmed in a presidential election year, and we're going to make that number 14. In 2016, Vice President Joe Biden said this, quote,
Mike Davis says really gay stuff, put on his tie and goes to work in this soft, unmarried man who's in his 40s and allegedly hangs out with other men at night. Dun, dun, dun. What is that crap? Donate to the Article 3 Project today, where you can help us put in squishy soft people who are 1 vote away from giving us not birthright citizenship or birthright citizenship. It hangs in the balance. The silver lining is in your hands. Also, buy our Silver IRA, which will take all of your money and put it into a coin that costs twice as much as it should so that we can rug pull the shit out of you. Lawyer up, TikTok, MFers. I want to just make parody ads for these idiots. Can I just do that? Can we just make fun of the retarded MAGA people that now they have to act like they didn't do this? Who else was out there? I don't know. Maybe Jenna Ellis. You guys remember her? She's kind of soured on the MAGA thing. Some of you probably think, well, she's against Donald Trump, so maybe she's for us. Maybe she's not like one of these people that just says what she's supposed to.
Jenna Ellis is a constitutional attorney. She is a campaign advisor, a senior advisor to the Trump reelect, and she joins us tonight. Jenna, thanks so much for coming on.
Great to see you, Tucker.
Give us your most sober analysis of where you think this is really going.
Well, of course, Joe Biden and the rest of the Democrats simply want to change the rules, and they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about our system of government. They would prefer to keep the judicial branch as a super legislature and as an activist majority. And that's what we've seen through the past 50 and 60 years. What Joe Biden is expressly ignoring is what Alexander Hamilton said so perfectly in Federalist 76 through 78, which is that the judicial branch is designed to be the weakest branch, only to be able to review the policy and lawmaking decisions of the two political branches. It's not supposed to act with partisan interests. And Hamilton even acknowledges in the Federalist Papers that the reason that the nomination is vested in the president pursuant to the Constitution is because he would expressly not have the special interests and lawmaking contemplations that the House or the Senate would. And so Joe Biden is forgetting all of that. He doesn't want to acknowledge that. He doesn't want our system of government to operate how it's designed. He wants to completely throw it out because the design and functionality of our Constitution, of our limited powers given to government, is a stopgap, and it's actually preventing the Democrats from putting through their activist partisan policy agenda. If they are so worried about Amy Coney Barrett acknowledging that the ACA is unconstitutional, then maybe they should be very careful to actually put forward laws that are constitutional instead of being so concerned about someone who actually wants to be a judge.
Yeah, or just improve it in the Congress as the system intends. Absolutely. All of this poison, all of these, let's tear down the system and create one-party control of the country. All of these ideas come out of the universities, the ones that are.
I think you could argue that there is, in fact, one-party control, and all of these ideas which came out, that was in 2020, for those of you that are keeping score, that was almost 6 years ago. Yup. It just results in the same darn thing. What did it result in? It resulted in this ceremony at the Rose Garden, I think.
I stand before you today to fulfill one of my highest and most important duties under the United States Constitution, the nomination of a Supreme Court Justice. Now we gather in the Rose Garden to continue our never-ending task of ensuring equal justice and preserving the impartial rule of law. Today it is my honor to nominate one of our nation's most brilliant and gifted legal minds to the Supreme Court. Her qualifications are unsurpassed, and her record is beyond reproach. She is a woman of unparalleled achievement, towering intellect, sterling credentials, and unyielding loyalty to the Constitution, Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
DI, MAGA meltdown, betrayal. You gave other people citizenship that they were already getting. You gave them the citizenship that they were getting the day before. They were already there. Somebody offered you like, hey, maybe I'll get you a good deal. And you're like, oh, can you get me a good deal? And they're like, no, sorry, I can't get you the good deal. And you're like, you betrayed us. There is something to be said about the atmospherics of having really good, patriotic, exciting, epic music behind you. It does make what you say sound like it's not so damn boring. That was the lowest energy Donald Trump that there is, but that's okay. All right. Now, what does some of those people say today now that they're frustrated with the MAGA meltdown? And I'm almost done here, I promise you. Let's go back to Mike Davis. I like when he talks. I like when Mike Davis talks because I don't know if it's like a lisp or a speech impediment or if he just has too much saliva in his mouth or maybe he's like holding on to like some food in the back of his cheek. But there's something that he does when he talks that makes me think he shouldn't talk as often as he does. He doesn't enunciate and articulate words. He was going to be a really good guy to maybe write papers for someone who's ancient, like Chuck Grassley, whose ears don't even work anymore. For some reason, keeps popping up and doing, there's like 20 media clips I found of him in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. Anyway.
She's bad on the two questions that actually matter for the sovereignty and the continuation of Western civilization.
What?
Which is immigration and then the powers to enforce immigration. She's bad on those. She's atrocious on those. And so this seems like a massive blind spot in the people that were supporting Amy Coney Barrett. How do you feel today?
I think it was the biggest mistake imaginable supporting Amy Coney Barrett. I think she is a disaster for the Supreme Court. She is, as I've said, a rattled law professor with her head up her ass, and she thinks that she is the smartest person in the room, and she's not. She's the junior varsity justice, and she thinks that she's grading law school exams instead of exercising sound judgment. We know why the Chief Justice does what he does.
Do you think that Mike Davis practiced this stuff in a mirror and then still did a shit delivery, or did he just kind of come up with this out of nowhere? I'm always kind of curious where these people come up with this stuff, because he's said the same thing in a bunch of places.
This is all about a vanity project for him. It's about his image. He's very chiefy, and he put his vanity today over our sovereignty, and it is unacceptable. It is inexcusable.
And there's nothing you can do about it because you're just a guy who just runs around in Washington, D.C. talking big game, TikTok. I thought we were going to get justice. I thought we were going to get the deep state was going to have to lawyer up and all the other nonsense.
My bing bong ain't out. I'm chilling. Bing bong's not out. I'm good.
That's pretty much it. If you keep your bing bong put away, you're probably good to go. You don't even have to worry about that. Don't even sweat it, people. All right. Did we get anything fun in the last little bit? I think we did. We got something fun from one of my favorites. I am blatantly and blindly amused by the idea that Tom Massey floated out the Nancy Mace proposition to expose people who have availed themselves of the Congressional Slush Fund. What do all those words mean, Seraphin? What are you talking about? There is a slush fund that the United States Congress has, and they're able to have it because we have a 16th Amendment where they can take money and do stuff with it, and they take your money first before you get even a crack at it. So that's the uphill battle. Forget about the 14th. How about you stop funding the federal government the way that we do? We'd have a much smaller problem because they couldn't do all this corruption. But this should be the first question you ask. Why are they doing this with my money? They take your money, and then they either hire crazy women, which is a real possibility. There's plenty of nutty women that make, ridiculous allegations just because they're gross. And they're gross people doing gross things. So there are some dirtbags out there for sure in Congress and in the Senate. And then they use the money that they took from your paycheck to pay those women primarily, although there's enough gay people in that space that who knows how many men have been abused as well. They take our money and then they pay off their either poor decision making in Congress or their poor behavior in Congress with your money. And that's what they do. And it's a hidden slush fund, and the names are not disclosed, and we don't know who did it. So Tom Massey put them to a decision for all their chips, and he got a 420-0 vote on his resolution to say, yeah, we're going to expose all the names of the people that use that slush fund. Can you imagine not voting, like voting no, I don't think we should expose the names of the dirtbags in Congress? Or can you imagine voting yes, knowing that you're one of the dirtbags in Congress and your name is going to be made public? This is a really funny thing that happens when you put people to a decision for all their chips. You back somebody into the corner and you say, hey, you're not going to return. Your incumbency has been revoked. You are now a lame duck. What are you going to do with it? You're going to get smart people doing amusing, funny things like backing everyone into a corner. It was 420-0 no's and one voted present. And that person who voted present was Nancy Mace, which is really weird. Here's what it sounds like.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. Directing the Committee on Ethics to preserve and publicly release records relating to monetary settlements involving acts of sexual harassment, whereas transparency is essential for accountability in government, whereas sexual harassment and unwelcome sexual advances by members, delegates, or residents commissioners in violation of Clause 9 and Clause 18 of Rule 23 of the Rules of the House affect the safety, dignity, and the integrity of the proceedings of the House of Representatives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that with respect to reviews, investigations, or matters which the Committee on Ethics or the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights have reviewed, conducted, or facilitated, the Committee on Ethics and the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights shall, not later than 60 days after the adoption of this resolution, make publicly available a single consolidated list that sets forth separately for each member, delegate, or resident commissioner the name of each member, delegate, or resident commissioner who was the subject of any review or investigation involving a violation of Clause 9 of Rule 23 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, as it pertains to acts of sexual harassment, or Clause 18 of Rule 23 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, or any case involving sexual harassment or sexual abuse if it resulted in a payment of taxpayer funds, and, adjacent to each such name, the total amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such matters. The aggregate total amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such reviews, investigations, or matters involving members, delegates, or resident commissioners that did not, in any portion of the settlement, involve sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct. The aggregate total amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such reviews, investigations, or matters involving, in part or in full, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct by employees of the House of Representatives, and the aggregate total amount of taxpayer funds included in all settlements, payments, reimbursements, awards, or other financial considerations paid in connection with such reviews, investigations, or matters involving conduct by employees of the House of Representatives that did not, in any portion of the settlement, involve sexual harassment, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct.
This is how pedantic our legal system is. All of those things are necessary to point out. Can we get the House Slush Fund on people that abuse taxpayer dollars to pay off their indiscretions or poor hiring decisions? And I'm leaving it open to both, by the way, because I do think there's a real possibility that if you hire like crazy women, which there are crazy women, there are crazy men too, but there are crazy women who make wild allegations of sexual impropriety simply because they know that it is devastating. So, if you hired those women and they have a certain look and you all know who they are and some of you have worked for them, they're atrocious, that means that you have bad decision making when it comes to the hiring. Or if you are, and this is probably more common, a dirtbag person who's a politician that has a bunch of power and think that somehow that your power equals you can assert that over women who are in positions that are physically inferior and then maybe also, have a major power imbalance and you want to exercise that power because that's how you get off because you're an ugly weirdo and you're in the show business for ugly people. I think we should know what we're paying since we're all funding and footing the bill of this thing. How much money was involved, whether it was sexual or not. Who are you? What did it cost the American taxpayer? The dirty laundry list. Let's put it out there. I think that seems totally fair and relevant. Now, I made a statement about halfway in here that there is a real problem with men of a certain age, with a certain training, with a certain mindset that signed up to get certain skill sets, were trained by our government to do certain things and feeling like they were betrayed. That is an ongoing problem right now. There is a belief, I think, by a lot of us that we signed up for a reason that made sense when we were young. We look back on it now and we're frustrated and we feel like we were betrayed in our confidence by being part of the military or law enforcement or both. And what do you do with that? And what happens when this group of men become disenfranchised and disillusioned with the possibility of voting their way out, which I think we are already at? I heard this rant. This is coming from Pacific Northwest Guerrilla. It's an account I follow. This guy is a Army vet, as far as I can understand it. He says things very similar to what I would have said when I signed up at 27. I was 27 years old. I wasn't right out of high school. I'm a little older than him, I think. And yet, I think the upside down flag that he wears on his hat, just like I wear on mine, it symbolizes a growing frustration from men who say, if we actually knew where the target was, that target would not be long for the world. It's just not obvious what it is. I think that also is liberating. It's probably really good for our souls that we can look inward and we can solve the problems that we have. But this is an articulation of that same problem. And it should all be like, why on earth are you doing these things with our money? You've lied to us. You've sold us a bill of goods and we're really pissed off at it. We just don't know where to direct that anger. And it sounds like this kind of crash out, if you will.
Like, why? Why are we playing this game? Why are we doing this? This is mental, right? This is psychotic. The world that we live in currently, allowing women to have the voice that they do, allowing pedophiles to have the voice that they do, allowing foreign nationals to have the voice they do, allowing dual citizens to have the voice that they do. Am I the only one here that's like, this is insane? Why are we listening to these people? Why are we letting people that do not represent me and have never walked a single mile in my beat to fuck Solomon shoes You have not once beat a pair of shoes to this fucking level. You don't know in any way, shape, or form our style of life. The vast majority of men here in America, the vast majority of blue-collar workers, the men that are keeping the fucking lights on, you have no idea the shit that we go through and the shit that we have fucking gone through and the tolerance that we've had for fucking years. And man, oh man, I'm telling you, we're fucking tired. We're sick of this shit. It is fucking annoying, like past 1,000. I'm failing. My stupid caveman vernacular cannot properly come up with enough terms and with enough like good and like justifiable and reasonable and like lyrical wordsmith sounding sentences for YouTube. I'm sorry, I'm trying here. I am some dumb caveman. I joined the army for 6 years. I was like, I'm gonna go kill sand people in sand countries, and then I didn't kill sand people in sand countries, but I was trained to, and then I'm here in America watching all the sand people from the sand countries that I was told were evil for years, and then we need to go over there and kill them. I am now watching those evil people that I was trained to think are evil come over into my country, and now they're just like, oh, I'm just as much of American as you are. Oh yeah, the whole 9/11 thing, yeah, that was us, but actually it wasn't, but we're gonna still say it that it was us, but allow us in your country, because even though you were literally trained and propagandized since 5th grade, in 5th fucking grade, I was shown 9/11 footage. Why was I shown 9/11 footage in 5th grade? Why was I sitting in 5th grade and on our CRTV, there was 9/11 footage that I was watching that was played live, and then I went home early? Why the fuck would that happen?
I'm watching the comments roll in on our chat right now. His beard looks like my beard. Yeah, it's the insurgency beard. It's the beard of the guy that goes, I don't know what's coming, but pretty confident we had the same experience. It just turned out I was in college when that went down. If he was in 5th grade, it just shows you the age difference. There are men between the ages of 48 and, I don't know, 32, an entire generation of men that signed up that wanted to go do the thing. What did he say? Kill sand people in sand countries. I think that is a pretty, it is a not nice way. It is an inartful way of saying a thing that a lot of men my age and younger and older thought. It's like, we're going to solve the problem over there. That's what we were sold. That's what we were told. And then we pulled out. We had 13 people killed on a disastrous pullout. We brought 100,000 of them here. It was some of the original whistleblower stuff that I did that resulted in me not being part of the federal government. And we all look around and we went, what sort of bullshit have you guys been selling us for so long? And you want us to just play along nice, like we're going to vote, and that we're going to fix these problems with Supreme Court decisions with some lady who has Haitian adopted children? What the hell are you trying to do? It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. So I'll just leave that there. It's PNW Gorilla. If you want to follow him on X, I'm sure he has a YouTube as well, it sounds like. So take a look. If you want to find out what that little frustration looks like, he puts a lot of content out that has to do with shooting, and it's like he's more of a gun tuber type guy. But that frustration of people that just want to be left alone to be able to do stuff like wear out their shoes. Dude, I've got shoes like that right now. I have, mine are different shoes. They're ultras, but they're run to that level, holes in them and stuff. And I don't want to give them up because I can't justify getting rid of them because they still work. They still keep things off my feet, you know? Did any of the people that are sitting up there in Congress, did Mark Wayne Mullen, who says only in America where a retard can go be, how old is Mullen? Hold on, I'm gonna look him up. Wayne. Here we go. He's 48. Mm-hmm. Did that guy ever wear out shoes like that? Maybe he did. He seems like he's a long way from it. All right. I do have something very funny, and I'm going to do more promotion of On Boys Media because I think they're the best. I think they're the funniest out there. If you guys are watching right now, please make sure you've liked the video. We appreciate all of you guys. Those of you in the chat, you guys make this the show that it is. It's not the same when you're not there. If I have to record a show, it doesn't feel the same to me because I can't see what you guys are doing. So all of you that are over on YouTube, the lovers and the haters, especially the haters, you guys are really fun. Same thing on Rumble, the chat people who are grouchy about what I have to say, the people who agree with me, I like both of you equally. I actually really get a kick out of it when someone is pissed. Go out there and work on your Fs. Not that F, the other F. faith, family, the fitness, the firearms, the farming, and we'll do something funny because that's the kind of guy that I am. I can't help but laugh at this stuff. So let's do something that has nothing to do with anything at all. It's completely non-political. Take a deep breath. If you're at work, turn this down. For the love of God, do not play this loudly. This will get you canceled. 100% of this. We're going to laugh. Some men go to tanning booths. I don't know who these men are. Here's a conversation with men at a tanning booth.
Hey, do you tan your wee-wee? Hell no! Why not? It's free. Because I want that piece to glow like a damn genie coming out the baba, you feel me? I do. Yeah, that's my little glowworm, you know, because he's small, but he's got a big glow. Can you dig that? I can. Dig it then, young blood. I'm digging it. Currently digging it. Now, earlier you said it was free. And fiscally, sure, but it do have a cost. What do you mean? Oh, you don't think that'll take a toll on a relationship? Lighten up your little man without consent? I don't know what y'all's situation is, but me and my boy are tight. No, we're pretty tight. You know, we have our ups and downs, but it's pretty good. Well, we only got ups. Get a bona car to glow up. Hold up. You hear me? I hear you. You hear me?
I need a friend like this.
I got one more thing for you. Yeah, what's that? Come here.
Uh-oh.
Now back up. I don't go that way.
Come on, boys. It's so dumb. I know I'm dumb because I like that. I miss Archer. I miss action figure therapy. I miss people like this. This is the kind of guys that I used to surf with. They would do these rants for no reason. They come out of completely nowhere. They'd be like, nobody asked you. And then they have strong opinions about stuff that you have no reason to know about them. Those are the people I enlisted with. They're also really pissed off right now, I think. So for whatever it's worth, there you go. I hope that makes you laugh. Freaking glowworm. God bless you for listening. You guys allow me to be doing what I'm doing here. Check out our sponsors. Links in the show descriptions. By all means, they're good products. I won't back stuff like silver IRAs that will scam you. I won't ever push a meme coin because I don't do it. Everything that we endorse here is something that I would also use and I've spent my own money on, etc. Have a good Wednesday, my friends. It is the 1st of July. It's only going to get more interesting. And yeah, share it with a friend. I'd appreciate it if you did. See you on the other side. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.